Hey friends, I'm Rachel Cunningham, and you're listening to Joyful Love, episode 81. If you're ready to bring joy and connection back to your marriage, stick around. Each week, I give you the tools to up-level your thinking, open your heart, and bring joy and fun back to your relationship. Because it's not enough just to stay married. We want to love being married. So for today's episode, I decided to go ahead and have Chris edit down the workshop that I taught last week in the Facebook group. The class is all about the manual and also thought work of how to help us change our perspectives so that we can actually drop the manuals that we have for our partners. I've talked about the manual that we have for our partners and for other adults before in this podcast, but I go into a little bit more detail in this class, and I tell you how thought work can really help to change your perspective on some of the beliefs and thoughts that are really holding you back from connection. And if you're not a part of the Facebook group, I encourage you to join, because every month, for the first Tuesday of every month, I teach a live class in there where you can come on and be interactive with me on some of these classes. You can ask questions and get immediate help in the group. I'll put a link to join that group in the show notes of this episode. Okay, without further ado, enjoy the workshop on how to drop irritation and start building more connection with ease. Today, you are in the right place. If you're just feeling super irritated with your partner, if you've been frustrated and irritated and annoyed in your relationship, whether just for the last week or for the last, decade or two, right? You're in the right place, because we're going to learn how to stop feeling irritated by your partner and to start turning that irritation into connection with more ease. And I'm going to show you that more ease part today. So, first of all, before I go into the how, I want to tell you a story of last week. It was actually just 3 days ago. As I was thinking about this today, I was feeling that irritation come back. As I was thinking about the story. But here's the scenario. Everybody in my house was leaving on Saturday morning. And I did not have anything to do for like several hours. And I was super excited about that, because last week I had just coached one of my clients on some of the things that she wanted to welcome into her life. And one of the things was she wanted to take a leisurely shower once a week. And as I was coaching her, I was like, hey, that sounds like a good idea for me. It's been a while since I haven't, rushed through my showers. So everyone was leaving. My husband, Chris, had something to do that day. He had to go to work and do a shoot. He shoots video and does editing and producing and things here in Nashville. So he had a shoot to go to. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have the whole house to myself. I can take a long leisurely shower. I'm going to shave my legs. I'm going to I was excited about intentionally calming my nervous system with a great long shower. And so I get in there and I'm just, enjoying my shower. I'm being present. Nobody's home. And I go to grab my razor to shave my legs. And because I'm a girl who likes smooth legs, I just am. So I go to grab my razor to shave my legs, and it's not there. My pink razor, that is a very obvious lady razor. On one end, it has the bikini, trimmer. And then on the other hand, it has the razor. It's like my razor. And I've actually had this conversation with my husband before, that it's my razor and he's not to use it. So it was gone. And I was like, oh my gosh, who stole my razor? And I immediately started feeling triggered, like very irritated. And so I get out of the shower dripping wet, and I look on the sink and I see it right there. And I pick it up, and there's all these little gray, wiry whisker hairs, right? Obviously from my husband. And so there was something in me that got so triggered that I was like, what in the world? Like, he stole my razor. He's so inconsiderate. And he knows this, and he doesn't even care about me, and all of these things. And even my brain, like, I was like, there was like Coach Rachel on this side, and there was like irritated Rachel on this side. And Coach Rachel said, Rachel, this isn't a deal breaker. It's okay. Calm down. And this Rachel said, like, no, it is a total deal breaker. And I was just like, I wasn't even able to watch myself in the moment as like, Coach Rachel. I was just so in the moment of thinking, my husband is so inconsiderate. Why would he steal my razor? All right. I ended up letting that irritation turn to rage. I'm really glad that he wasn't home at the moment, because it gave me some time to process that. I want you to hold on to that story, because I'm going to come back to it in the end and tell you how I intentionally processed it. But I'm sure that you've had these types of situations before. And oftentimes, it can be every day with your partner. And the longer you're with someone, the more things you find that are irritating, the more things you find that you wish they would stop doing or wish they would start doing. And, sometimes like these things are such a constant in your life that your nervous system is just always on like high alert, and you're just totally frustrated, right? So some examples that I often hear from my clients are that my husband isn't helping enough, or my wife is working too much, or they're chewing food too loud, or they're touching you too much. They're always like grabbing you and trying to touch you at the wrong moments when you're really busy, right? Like, they should stop doing that. Or they're not touching you enough, and that's irritating, that's frustrating. Or they're talking too much, or they're not talking enough, right? I rarely hear my clients say, oh, my partner talks just enough. It's either they talk too much or they don't talk enough. And here's the thing. No matter what your partner would do, no matter what, even if they changed all the things that you wish they would change today, your brain is wired to look for something wrong. Your brain has evolved to look for the negative as a way to protect you, right? So sometimes this is super helpful, right? Sometimes it needs that high alert that says, hey, something is wrong, is really helpful, and you need that, because that's the part of our brain that keeps us alive, that keeps us moving forward. Unfortunately, most of the time, it's also the part of the brain that dramatizes everything. And it looks for things that are wrong. And if there's nothing wrong, then it says, oh, there's something deeper wrong, keep looking, right? And all of this is kind of subconscious. And our brains are just looking, like slowly looking, what's wrong? And especially if you're unhappy in life, if you're not experiencing a lot of joy in life, if there are other things wrong, your brain wants to find someone to blame. So if you have a partner, a lifelong partner, they are the quickest person to blame for your unhappiness. So many of these things, though, aren't actually wrong. They aren't actually things that should create such irritation and such annoyance in us. It's just a preference. And so we need to learn how to look at the things that we're shooting on our partner, and we're criticizing our partner for, and ask ourselves, like, is this just a preference, or is it something worth going after and saying, hey, we need to change this? If we're not able to look at that and really see the big perspective of things, we just stay irritated and frustrated in our relationships. So here's the truth. The truth is that your partner is not causing your irritation. They're not causing you to be annoyed. My husband did not cause my irritation by using my razor. It's the thoughts that you have about your partner that's causing your irritation. Just like that thought in my head, he's so inconsiderate, he's so rude, right? That's causing my irritation. And I could even look deeper if I wanted to and say, ooh, why was I so triggered in that moment? and probably find some things in myself of, oh, I've been in hustle mode a lot, and this is the first time that I decided to rest. Let's look at that. Why have I been in hustle mode all week long, right? But if we're constantly blaming our partners, we're not able to see a solution to some of our issues. So let's recap here. Your partner is not annoying. I know it might be really hard to believe right now. Your partner is not annoying. It's your thoughts about your partner that are causing you to feel annoyed and irritated. So this is that concept that our thoughts create our emotions. And sometimes the thoughts are so deep-seated and so almost habitual and maybe even like have been fed to you since childhood that you don't even realize that they're there sometimes, and you're triggered so quickly on something that you're like, I don't even know what the thought was, but I'm super annoyed. So I'm pretty sure it was my partner, right? So it's important though to just recognize, take a step back and say, okay, even just asking the question, if my partner is not actually annoying right now, and if it's my thoughts, what am I thinking? How can I pause and instead of shifting blame and criticism super quick, how can I pause and just ask myself, what am I thinking here? So this is really good news, because the truth is you cannot always change your partner, can you? Well, let me just rephrase that. You can never change your partner. We've all tried at different times, but you can look at your thoughts and question the truth of them and decide on purpose whether to keep them or not. So in other words, you can change your perspective. Sometimes changing that perspective is really difficult though, especially when you have a list of rules that you think your partner should live up to. We all have a list of rules. In life coaching, we like to call this list of rules the manual. So the manual is my rules for another adult. And it can look like they should remember to clean up after themselves. Sounds perfectly acceptable, right? They should be on time. They should stop losing the keys. They should be more affectionate. They should want the same things that I want, like a clean house, vacation, more sex, less sex. They should communicate better. They should read the room. This is a big one. They should be able to read the room, right? They should want more time with me. All of these things sound so amazing and valid, and like you're not being too picky. You just want a decent relationship, right? And the truth is, with any of these and with any of your thoughts, you get to be the decider of which of any of these thoughts that you want to hold on to. That is your right. You get to keep the thoughts that you want to keep. Nobody can take that from you, not even a coach. And so I want you to kind of look at these and say, it is my choice to keep these or not. But I also want you to take an honest look at if holding on to these rules, or whatever your rules are, right? Your rules might be a list of totally different ones than these. Take an honest look at if holding on to those rules is helping you and your partner to have a good relationship or not. Or is it really sending you down like this constant habitual path of criticism and blame? Okay, so here's your first question. I want to know what your manual is for your partner. What are 3 things that you think your partner should start doing or stop doing that you believe is causing so much irritation in your life? And these could be viewed as small or big things. Some people would say, oh, these are pretty small things. Or some people might look at the one that's like, you should spend more time with me as a really big thing. You should communicate. That can be a really big thing, right? So having a manual and focusing on the shoulds that your partner should be doing is not helping you. The manual, your partner for your manual is not helping you. It's keeping you stuck. It's keeping you stuck in frustration, irritation, blame and criticism, disconnection, resentment, all of those things, right? It's keeping you stuck because you're putting your rules on another adult human being. Rules are great for appliances. They're even great for kids sometimes, but for adults, it's not something that is actually going to help you to connect with your partner. And, it seems like these things seem like a simple, you should do this because that's what a good partner does. But it's really just criticism and blame in a sneaky little package called the manual. It's not your partner's actions or inactions that are causing you frustration. It's the manual that you have for them that's keeping you stuck in a pattern of thinking that's just not serving you. And if I thought it would serve you, if I thought it would change anything to keep it, I would say keep it all day long. Okay, so because your rule book doesn't stop at just like, oh, you should stop doing this. Your rule book actually leads to deeper thoughts of self-worth, your partner's worthiness, and your own. These little rules start to cut deep after a while, and they start to create almost like a culture of feeling shame and walking on eggshells and not ever feeling good enough, right? And I think I'm currently talking about the manual that you have for your partner, but let's be honest, your partner also has a manual for you. And you know that feeling of like when they're nitpicky about certain things, that feeling that that feels like just like, oh, I can't do anything right? So and then when we start criticizing each other because neither of us are living up to each other's manual, you start to think thoughts like, he doesn't care about me. He's selfish. If she cared, she'd pick up after herself. He's lazy. Do you see how it starts to cut deeper and deeper into their character? He's lazy. He's childish. We've all heard friends or even said it ourselves that, my husband is like taking care of another child. That thought is holding you back from actually doing anything to drive your connection and your communication forward, right? That thought is a dramatization of what's really going on, and it's not seeing a deeper issue. Even like she's so stupid or he's so annoying. These are the things that feel like ouch to a person's soul. It feels like total disconnection. It feels like resentment is starting to creep in. It feels like disdain, right? It feels like contempt, which we probably all heard. Contempt is right before divorce, basically. If you start to feel contempt in your relationship, it's like one or both of you are starting to think about getting out, right? So I want to catch this before it gets there for some of you. And some of you are already there, and that's okay. We can work our way out of it. I'll reiterate again, it's not your partner who's causing you to be irritated. It's your thoughts about your partner. It's our inability to accept them as a lovable and worthy human being who is doing the best they can in this life. And I truly believe that people are doing the best they can. And yes, sometimes they can do better. And sometimes they have to learn to do better. And sometimes it will be really helpful for your relationship when they do learn to be better. But looking at it from a perspective of they're doing the best they can, even if they have things to learn, even if they have a journey in this life to help them grow, right? That's going to help you connect with them as a human more than focusing on all the little things that they need to do better. So this kind of stuff is not just causing a mild irritation. It's creating major disconnection in your relationship. So now let's think about, what do we do about it? You're like, okay, I'm on board. Tell me what to do about it. Or maybe you're not on board and you need to see what to do about it to actually see the bigger picture here. So we're going to learn how to actually accept your partners and see them as beautiful, lovable, worthy human beings. And if you think about it, that's exactly what you want to feel seen as, right? You want to feel seen as beautiful and lovable and worthy of love, even when you forget to do the things you said you were going to do, even when you have things that you can still grow on. So we're going to learn how to drop the manual. And the main thing I want you to learn from this is to embrace thought work. Thought work is the practice of looking at your thoughts like you're a detective. You're going to separate fact from fiction. You're going to choose the thinking that actually serves you in your relationship instead of creating more disconnection. Okay? So here's exactly how to do thought work. I'm going to teach you the model today. The model is just it's a helpful tool that we learn at the Life Coach School. And it basically is ancient philosophy, like thousands of years of philosophy, harnessed into a super simple mindset tool that you can use to solve any problem in life. That's a bold statement, but I promise you, I pull this thing out every single day and go, oh, let me work through this in a model. Oh, solved my problem. It's so beautiful. So I want to teach that to you today. The model is basically everything in life can be fit into these 5 categories. There's a circumstance, which is just the facts of life, right? It's not opinions. It's not fluff. It's just like if you look at your life and boil it down to just the facts, that's your circumstances. And then we have a thought about that circumstance, right? Your thought is just a sentence in your brain. So you don't have to overthink what a thought is. It's just a sentence in your brain. That thought will generate a feeling or an emotion. And a feeling, I love to look at it as just a vibration in my body that happens. It's not scary. Negative feelings or positive feelings aren't, they're not scary. It's just from a thought in my brain. It's just a vibration in my body that comes from a thought. And then those feelings drive you to take the actions in life. Your actions are just the things that you do, whether it's yelling or going for a drive or doing the dishes or giving a hug, or like there are, all the actions in life. Also, what goes in here is inactions. So if I say I'm going to go run, but I don't run, that inaction goes in here. And then those actions create your results in life. Most of the time, we want to blame our circumstances for our feelings. So if we're feeling irritation, we want to look at the circumstance and go, oh my gosh, it's because of this that I'm feeling irritated. Or I'm not very happy today. I'm not feeling joy. It's because of my circumstance, when that is not true. The biggest thing I want you to learn from this is that there is so much power in your thoughts. You can have the same exact circumstance happen and look at it in a different perspective and have a totally different feeling. So I'm going to tell you exactly how. Remember that story I said earlier, the story of the razor, right? My husband stealing the razor. At first, I had a very unintentional model about it. And I was driving, like my thoughts and feelings and actions were driving me to the result of total disconnection and more frustration with my partner. That was my unintentional model. Then I decided to work through it and look a little deeper and create an intentional model to help me work my way out of it. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. So my unintentional model, my circumstance was he used my razor. That's just the facts, right? He used my razor. My thought, my underlying thought was he is so inconsiderate and rude. My feelings were frustration, which also led to anger. If you have anger, there's always a precursor emotion, even if it's only for 5 seconds, like it was for me. there's frustration or irritation or exhaustion, or, like if you have anger in your feeling line, always ask yourself, what was the precursor emotion? What came right before it? So for me, it was frustration, irritation, and then that led to anger. So my actions from that frustrated anger were to criticize, to ruminate about how irritating he is, to not think about his situation that morning, to not think, what was he doing? What was going on in his mind? What was his circumstance, right? To not stop and breathe. I did not stop and get in touch with my body. To not enjoy my shower. And then since I wasn't enjoying my shower, I was blaming him for that. Oh my gosh, he I had this one day and he ruined it, right? And then if I would have continued this model, right? If he would have been home and I wouldn't have caught myself before I saw him, I would have let him know how inconsiderate he was. I might have snapped at him. I might have given him the cold shoulder. I might have avoided him, right? Any of those things are what comes from thinking he's inconsiderate and rude, right? And thinking he shouldn't have used my razor. So that was my manual for him, right? He should never use my razor no matter what. And so I was thinking he's so inconsiderate and rude, which led me to all of these actions. And the result that I created for myself, not him, but the result that I was creating for myself was that I don't create connection. I create disconnection. So in the middle of all of this, I was even telling myself, Rachel, this is not a deal breaker, calm down. But my nervous system was on such high alert, I couldn't think straight, right? So I ended up getting back in the shower and just saying, just be present, it's fine. Wash off the razor, finish your shower, and then think through this before you go talk to Chris. After I got out of the shower, I thought through it. I worked through an intentional model so that I could see the humanness and the beauty of Chris again. So here's my intentional model. Circumstance is still the same because we can't change it. He used my razor. My thought that I came up with was he cares about me and there's something I'm not seeing. I love this sentence. There's something I'm not seeing because it makes me feel curious, right? When I'm curious, I'll take a deep breath. I'll put my hand on my heart. I'll breathe. I'll say, okay, I'm safe. Everything is okay. This is just a circumstance that I can work through, right? I remind myself that this is not a deal breaker. I ask questions and I get curious and I look for the truth. I ask questions like, what's different today? Like, what happened today that was unique? And I discover, oh yeah, this, and this happened. He was in a hurry because of this. He didn't have a razor because of this, right? 3 months ago, I was able to actually remember 3 months ago, I canceled his subscription for a razor. Like he would get the razors in the mail and I canceled them because I just felt like we got too many and he didn't need that many. So it was something that I actually did 3 months ago that created this result. If I kept blaming him, I wouldn't have discovered that, oh, I'm part of this too. So getting curious and actually looking and saying what actually caused this circumstance instead of shifting all the blame on him. And then asking myself, how can we prevent this? Oh, I can go to the store and get him some more, right? Or I could ask him to go to the store and get some more. In this case, I went to Walgreens and I was like, oh yeah, get him some razors. Even asking what is he going through, I was able to kind of put myself in his shoes and go, oh yeah, he was in a really big hurry today because he had a very important shoot. And those shoots require a lot. It requires a lot of packing gear out to his car and all kinds of things that I'm not even aware of. So if he's like, oh, I need a razor, I look sloppy today, I'm going to on this important shoot, I don't want to look sloppy, and he's looking all over for a razor and he's like, shoot, there's Rachel's razor, I'll just use that, right? Like I can understand his thought process. And I can understand what he's going through and see it from his perspective. So in this, I might not even have to have a conversation with him, right? I'm just able to go, I understand. And I can prevent this in the future. So what I've done is I've created connection with him. I've maintained our sweet connection, and I've found a solution, right? So that's how you use an unintentional model and create an intentional model so that you can see things from a clearer perspective, not so that you can just put your head in the sand about things that might need to change in your relationship, right? I'm not going to, like, putting my head in the sand would just be like, oh, I don't want to look at this. I don't want to look at this. And you know what would happen? In a month, he'd use my razor again because I never understood and uncovered some of the deeper things that were going on. So this is not about putting your head in the sand and just thinking positive thoughts. I want to be clear with that. This is about actually doing the things that create connection and a workable solution for your relationship. And staying in the model of my partner is inconsiderate and rude is never going to get you there, right? My manual was that he should never use my razor, which led to disconnection. But the truth is there's no rules necessary. He used my razor when he knows I hate that. That's really interesting. I wonder what's going on. Let me look deeper, right? So let me understand him more. Let me understand what's going on there. So some of you who don't mind sharing razors are going, what is your problem, Rachel? But no, it's a pretty huge deal for me. We don't share toothbrushes and we don't share razors. That's my request. But is it a hard rule that I should get irritated by, or is it something I can look at and say, this is my request, this is my preference, and if it doesn't happen, let me understand why. Let me understand the deeper reason here, right? When I explained this to Chris, I was like, here's some new razors, because I noticed that and I actually told him how frustrated I was, and he just put his hands in his head in his hand and was shaking his head going, oh my gosh, this is hilarious. And he was like laughing so hard at how irritated and frustrated that I was. But we were able to laugh about it because it was after the fact. And it was like, I was fully aware that, I'm not criticizing you. I'm not judging you, but here's where my brain was. And here's this beautiful gift of a new razor set. But I also told him, I was like, I'm using that story. And he was like, okay, go for it. Here's the crux of it. This work is basically remembering that you and your partner are both worthy of love every single day, not just on the days that you see eye to eye. This work of dropping your manual for your partner takes allowing your partner to have their own journey in life. This is helpful on the small stuff, and it's helpful on the big stuff. A lot of times we let the small stuff lead into big things, or we let all the 20 small things that are throughout the day cause us to blow up at the big stuff instead of to meet the big stuff with like intention, right? It also works for midlife crises. I have a lot of clients whose partners are going through midlife crises right now. Whether they're 30 or 60, their partners are really kind of in this shift of life going, oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life? Why am I working this job? What am I, I'm missing out on joy. And it's we call it a midlife crisis, but I love the way, I think it's Mel Robbins or Brene Brown. One of them says it's actually a midlife awakening. And if you can look at it like that, instead of this criticism of, oh, my partner keeps complaining all the time, right? The criticism is going to cause you to disconnect during that midlife awakening instead of communicating and connecting them during a time when they really need support. So if you bring fear and judgment into your partner's struggles, whether it's a midlife crisis or whether it's overeating or over drinking, you're just going to create an atmosphere where they don't feel comfortable sharing things with you. And they're going to start withdrawing. And then that's going to become a whole issue in itself, right? I think that's the class, you guys. I think that is where I want to stop. But I do want to just offer that if you need deeper help on this, I want you to book a free consultation with me. There are so many circumstances that happen in our everyday life that it can be hard to look at this from a really curious perspective consistently if you've never learned how to do that before. So right now, if you're interested in working with me, you can go to rachelcunningham.com/work with me. Rachel is spelled with an AEL, and .com/work with me, and you can book that free consultation. The consultation is totally free. Here's what marriage coaching, life and marriage coaching for women will do for you. Through our work together, we work for 6 months at a time together every week. I'm going to help you to see a new and actually helpful perspective way quicker on a lot of these issues that you're struggling with. Number 2, you're going to understand how your thinking patterns developed so that you can actually create new and healthy habits with new patterns. Sometimes understanding the root cause of your patterns, like where they came from, they may have come from religion. They may have come from just the way your parents raised you. They may have come from different situations that have happened in your relationship already that feel like you're having a hard time getting past them. They may come from patriarchal thinking, right? And messaging that we're taught as women and how we should be, right? The patriarchy definitely has a manual for women, and that is ingrained in us. And so understanding that perspective can really help you to start to uncover the negative habits that you're doing, the negative judgments of yourself that you're doing, that you're then projecting on your partner. We're going to uncover all of that in our coaching together so that you can actually make consistent progress on this stuff. And then we're going to look at your relationship goals. Like, what are your specific relationship goals? And I'm going to help you meet those goals a lot quicker. You're going to have better connection on a regular basis. I like to say sweet connection because that's what I started building with my husband. It's such a sweet connection now. We've been married for 26 years and we've been through all this shit. We've had so many manuals for each other, and to be able to come through that and to climb all the mountains that we've climbed together with raising kids and all the stresses of life, and to actually have a sweet connection, it's just magical. And that's what I want to help you do as well. That's the marriage that I want to help you create. So you're going to have less irritation. You're going to have healthier communication, and you're going to have better intimacy. But before that, you're going to get on a call with me. You're going to get on that free consultation. It's rachelcunningham.com/work with me. And on that free consultation, first of all, it's free. You have nothing to lose. This is not high pressure sales coaching. It's I want to understand you, and I want you to understand how I can help you. And if you agree to work with me, and if I agree to work with you, awesome. We're going to have the best 6 months together. But if you decide, hey, this actually isn't for me, then I'm going to give you this and I'm going to let you go. So on that call, you're going to understand your own manual. We're going to look at it, and we're going to understand why it's so hard to let go of. Number 2, we're going to purposefully in that session create a vision for your marriage. Like, what do you actually want? What is the kind of marriage that you would feel really good to be in? What are some of your deal breakers that maybe you need to actually bring to light? And what would you need and want in your relationship to feel like, this feels like freedom. This feels like such a sweet, connected marriage. We're going to look at that and then make goals out of that. We're going to turn this vision into a goal. And then number 3, I'm going to walk you through how coaching can help you meet those goals. I'm going to show you how it can help you get there faster and easier and with way more fun because you have me helping you. I have a client right now who she just keeps saying, I can't wait till our next meeting. I'm so excited to be there. I can't wait till our next meeting. And I'm like, yes, that's because I'm helping you understand how this thought work creates so much more fun and lightness in your life, right? When you learn to really take control of what you're able to control, it creates freedom. It creates empowerment. You're no longer just looking at your circumstance and saying, oh, this sucks. You're able to look at your circumstance and say, how can I make this better? Oh, this is how. And when you're not able to do that, you can come to a session with me and I'm going to be like, okay, let's look at it from this whole new perspective. So rachelcunningham.com/work with me. Do book that call with me and I'll see you soon. All right. Bye, guys. Thanks for listening to Joyful Love. If you'd like to know more about my work, come visit me at rachelcunningham.com. That's Rachel, spelled with an AEL, Cunningham.com.